Cut my own hair today. I'm a multi-threat. All right, here we go. Hey everybody, welcome back. My name is Andrew Robinson. I am a recovering audiophile, and I just want to say welcome. Welcome to our little corner of YouTube where we discuss things like audio, music, art, and design. And if this is your first time seeing our living room here and hanging out with us, thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you are a regular or a subscriber, welcome back. Welcome back, because today we have a very special and fun review for all of you. Today we are talking about none other than Klipsch Heresy IV loudspeaker. But before I get to the title card, stay tuned to the end of this review because we have a very special giveaway in store. So about a year ago, I reviewed Klipsch's Heresy III loudspeaker. And in that review, I talked about its infectious nature and how much I enjoyed a lively, dynamic speaker like the Heresy in my system. And that once you kind of get a feel for that high sensitivity kind of sound, i.e. a loudspeaker that doesn't take much to drive to satisfying or concert levels, it's really hard to go back. And by back, I mean to go back to other types of speakers, more traditional non-horn loaded or less sensitive speakers. Because in that video, I said that the sensitivity, that dynamic, that just quality of sound that the Heresy and other high efficiency loudspeakers have is like a shot in the arm of something that you can't put your finger on it, but it just seems right. Well, it's here again in the Heresy IV, but one of the caveats, one of the things that I didn't care for about the Heresy III that I pointed out in that review was that with the wrong source material or even the wrong components, they could be a little bit tipped up or on the brighter side, maybe even to some people a little bit fatiguing. So while I enjoyed them thoroughly, while I thought they were phenomenal speakers, they did have some quirks. They did have some caveats. Well, what's different? Because I don't want to review the same thing. As cool as the Heresy was, I didn't necessarily want to just do a do-over kind of review. And Klipsch informed me that a lot was different. In fact, for the first time in this speaker's history, and this speaker goes way back, I mean way back. It has been in constant production for decades. But for the first time in its history, it has been completely redesigned. And so while it may look similar, maybe even the same to the untrained eye, I assure you this is an entirely different beast. So obviously I had to check it out for myself, and arrive it did. And I gotta tell you, all of these little changes add up to quite a big difference. So what's the same? Well, it's still a three-way horn-loaded high-efficiency loudspeaker from Klipsch. It still largely looks the same, although the dimensions are different. It still has the same 4 finish options, although we went with the American walnut finish this time as opposed to the cherry that you may have seen in our version 3 review. The base is new. The base is a black kind of pedestal, which is meant to give the speaker a little bit more of a slimmed down, streamlined design. I happen to just think it modernizes the speaker visually just a little bit more. The other base had a little bit more of a kind of a scalloped look to it, and it definitely gave it that vintage vibe because that bass has been on that speaker for 30 years. But this new black pedestal kind of streamlined bass, I think, is far more attractive and likely going to appeal to a wider range of users. Obviously, the Heresy is still made in America, and it still possesses a lot of the trademark qualities that Klipsch is known for, especially in their heritage line of products. So what's different? Well, the Heresy IVs are just a little bit more expensive this time around at just a hair under $3,000 a pair. The 3 biggest differences with the Heresy that are immediately noticeable are the fact that it is now ported. There is a rear port on this bad boy, and it makes a difference. First time ever on a Heresy loudspeaker that we've had a bass port. The binding posts are now metal, very much more high-end, and just look the business. And then inside, behind the scenes, what you can't see, which arguably makes the biggest difference in its sound, is the completely redesigned crossover, which Klipsch says is voiced after their La Scala, Klipsch horns, and Cornwall loudspeaker. To be honest with you, without being able to directly compare the Heresy to those three loudspeakers, I don't know if the voicing is exactly the same or not. All I can tell you is, and we'll get into this a little bit more detail in a moment, all I can tell you is the revamped three-way crossover is a huge improvement. In my Heresy 3 review, which I will link to in the description below, or you can check it out up there, I talked about how the Heresy 3 with the wrong components, or maybe even the wrong source material, could be a bit on the light side or even forward to aggressive side in the high frequencies. So with the redesign of the crossover inside the Heresy 4, we are treated to a much, much more linear response from this loudspeaker. And as a result, this loudspeaker is far more neutral and far more agreeable to a wider range of electronics and an even wider range of musical styles and tastes, making it arguably one of the best all-round loudspeakers at this price point, and likely higher, that I have ever heard. Full stop. I'm not even going to mince words. It's amazing. And the presence of the rear firing bass port makes a huge improvement to the overall coherence of its frequency response. This thing has bass now. It does. And satisfying bass. The kind of bass that punches you and you can feel it and it resonates and it stirs your soul, and it just wasn't there before, and it's there now. And that is one of the things that jumps out at you, because I don't know if anyone who maybe has an old pair of Heresies kicking around in their system right now would ever in a million years say what I'm about to say, which is no subwoofer required. With the right setup and the right source material, let's say the Weeknd's Starboy, no subwoofer required. It is completely and utterly satisfying in the low end, and that is not something that I could have said about the Heresy 3. In fact, I didn't say it about the Heresy 3. And a lot of people jumped on the comments on that review and lit me and that speaker up, saying a 12-inch driver for bass and you still need a subwoofer? Pfft, don't need it anymore. Don't need it anymore. That has been solved, fixed, perfected. It's awesome. And whether you listen to bass heavy music or you don't, you're going to feel that sense of added grounding to everything. The mid-range seems all the more fleshed out now because the bass doesn't roll off as harshly as it did in the version 3. And if you're a big fan of movies, holy crap. This is a wholly satisfying loudspeaker for both 2-channel and home theater use. In fact, even if you're rocking 2 channels, but you're going to be a 2-channel home theater enthusiast, boom, Heresy 4. It's that satisfying in those dynamics. I'm getting ahead of myself. So the bass is improved, the bass is awesome, and I couldn't have imagined how big of a difference that rear port would make until I heard it for myself, and wow. The mid-range is the one aspect of the Heresy 4's performance that I feel is the most in line with its performance carried over from the Heresy 3. It's not the same. It's actually a lot more smooth and a little bit more linear. But in terms of its just vibe, its tone, its inherent coloration or lack thereof, it is largely the same. Now, where the mid-range excels is that the crossover point between the mid-range and the tweeter between Series 3 and now version 4 has been moved a little bit. So the coherence from mid-range to the high frequencies is all the more smooth now. And arguably, there's not a gap. There's not as noticeable of a gap between the mid-range horn and the tweeter. And as a result, added with the peppering in of the bass, creates a very nice linear response indeed. And what that means is, for the first time, a speaker like the Heresy, I'm going to go out on a limb and say, is largely neutral. And because it's largely neutral, it sounds good with virtually anything. And because it's so easy to drive with its insane sensitivity, you can power this thing with as little as 5 or 10 watts. But if you have 100 watts or a 200 watt amp, it can handle that too. And it doesn't become harsh at higher volumes now. And it doesn't become harsh with solid state. You don't need tubes to kind of tame the, the high frequencies down. It's just the work that they did to the crossover mattered, and it makes a huge difference. And it elevates this loudspeaker in terms of its overall sonic neutrality to an entirely other level. The best part about it is that with all of these changes, I have to say, I don't think the magic or the soul of the Heresy is lost. Like, it's still a Heresy loudspeaker. It's still rock and roll. It's still fun. It's just more accessible now. It's able to be enjoyed more easily, more readily. And as a result, it's just phenomenal. It's really, really good. But it's really, really good fun still. So if you are a rock and roll fan and you want to take it to 11, the Heresy still has that soul, that anarchist rock and roll heart in its core. But if you fancy yourself a little bit more sophisticated, it now can do that too. And that makes this one of the best all-around, easy to come at loudspeaker products I've ever been exposed to. In my first review, I was like, oh my God, that's the sensitivity, it's amazing. And I was just like so jazzed about that. But I'm equally as jazzed, except now I'm like really blown away by the fact that the Heresy, it's a Swiss Army knife. Like, the loudspeaker just became a Swiss Army knife. It's a do everything well product as opposed to a caught in a niche sort of a thing. And so for, yes, a little bit more money, for roughly $3,000 a pair, this is a loudspeaker that you can kind of be one and done with. And that's awesome, because you can be one and done with this and then put virtually anything around it, and you're going to get the most out of your music, because it's so approachable from so many levels. Never mind the fact that it's just the little physical changes that Klipsch made, narrowing it just a little bit, raising its height just a little bit, that black pedestal, the wood veneer finishes, especially the walnut, is, oh my God, it's so pretty. And it just looks the business in virtually any environment. It's a speaker that when you gaze upon it, when you sit in your living room and you listen to music through it, like it feels good. It does, it feels good. For me, the Klipsch Heresy IV is just so easy to live with. It is a loudspeaker that can just be playing all day. It doesn't matter what you want to watch, what you want to listen to. It just, everything through it sounds natural, true to life in virtually every way. You want a big, bombastic, room-filling performance? Check. You want a nice, intimate, quartet to really feel like you're in kind of a smoky lounge taking in a private live show? Check. It can do it all. It images like a beast. It has it's one of the best center images I've ever seen. And the soundstage can be as vast and articulate and detailed as the recording calls for, because it takes nothing for this speaker to get up and dance. It takes nothing to coax any of the magic out of it. And that's that efficiency from the last review. That's the efficiency from the last review that I was just so, all about. Well, it's back, baby. And I love it. I love it.
Might want to calm down just so.
Don't tell me to calm down.
Well, they're going to.
I don't care. I don't care.
They're going to be like, oh, you're gushing.
I'm gushing because it's freaking good.
You paid shill.
Yeah, paid shill. No. You know why? You want to know why I'm gushing? I'm gushing because it's good. And I'm gushing because it makes me happy. And at the end of the day, that is a loudspeaker's job. So what don't I like about it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. For me, near as makes no difference, the Heresy IV is perfect. For me. You may disagree with me, that's fine. But for me, I haven't found one thing that I don't like about its performance. And I've tried. I've put tubes on it, solid state, Class D, Class AB, vintage. I've played MP3s, title, you name it. Records, good records, bad records. I just have fun with it. But I got to tell you, there is absolutely nothing that I don't like about it. I think it's great. It's, like I said, near as makes no difference for me. Perfection. So that's it. That's the review. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. But if you've made it this far, I promised you at the beginning of this video details on a giveaway. Well, Christy and I reached out to U-Turn Audio, makers of the Orbit turntable, which I know you've seen on this channel. I own them. I'm a customer, and we've done reviews about them. But we reached out to U-Turn because we asked them if they would be okay with giving away a turntable to one lucky viewer to just kind of help make this whole mess a little bit more bearable. And U-Turn went above and beyond because not only are they going to gift one lucky viewer or winner a U-Turn Orbit turntable, but they're also going to include a phono preamp. So it's just going to be that much easier for you to get up and running with enjoying vinyl records amidst all this chaos. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, remember, the only person that has to like the sound of your system is you. So be well, take care of yourselves, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye. Before we dive into this review, you're going to want to stay tuned to the very end where we will be giving you details on how, God, and I have to like literally tell them how to do this. I can't even tease it, let alone I'm going to have to tell them what to do.
For the contest?
It's like the audio equivalent of a Snuggie, you know? We're probably not going to use that. That's not making the cut. I think I can do that better. That's pretty good.
Take a deep breath.
But before we get started, do be sure to stay tuned to the end of this review where we will be detailing. Well, that's it. That was terrible.
That was really bad.
Why? Just stay tuned to the end. There's a giveaway. Free stuff. Who doesn't love that? And before I do the little trick to sign us off, damn it! That was only like the best one I've ever done.
That was so good.
I know it was. All right.
Now do it exactly like you just did.
Only better.